welcome to the Real CP Show. I am your host, CP. In today's topic, which today is July the 16th, 2026, the topic discussion is these multiple Nigerians and several Mexicans, oh my, involved in one of the largest methamphetamines distribution manufacturing in Nigeria's recent history. But remember that within Black Americanism in America are told these type of Nigerians are what's supposed to be hardworking, honest, about family values, right? And all those kind of things and stuff like that. And you say, well, okay, why are there so many fleeing from one of the most populous countries in Africa, is Nigeria? Why is it that it's supposed to be such the most educated, but can't fix corruption, tribalism, things going on within sectionality Nigeria? Oh my. And then you say, okay, well, this story is not about these, but this is not a fleer per se in this topic, or these Nigerian fleers. These are not Nigerian fleers per se in this topic. But how many still have an anti-Black American hatred? That's some of them still within certain parts of Nigeria. One applies to. And regardless, what about these ones? Why are they not sitting there building constructiveness in Nigeria? Why are they not building constructive businesses in Nigeria? Why are they not sitting there putting forth to be so educated? And you know they have different languages they speak. Oh, I forgot, makes no difference, apparently. But it's interesting how Black Americans are told so much, oh, there's Nigerians are so smart, they're so this and they're so that. But Nigeria is going through all kind of hassle right now, even more, and all kind of tribalism going on in Nigeria, left and right. But again, it's not about some of the good brothers and sisters. And then you add in the Mekano versions, you'd be like, way from Mekano, unless they were border break illegal immigrants and went to the United States. Either way, went to way across that big old Atlantic Ocean to Nigeria to also help set up major methamphetamine distribution, implementation. You know that story writes itself. Mekanos in Nigeria doing this? Oh my goodness. But let me go ahead and give me a second before I share my screen. Let me just say this. I mean, this whole story is wild. And the thing about it, it's a very short story, and you're not going to hear this a lot on various main media. You're not going to hear this at all. In many instances, this is why I like to sit there and do, again, variety of different topics as well. So, because it's not about right now, it's not about 2 years from now, 5 years, 4 months from now. This is about down the road in any particular time on this. So I may come across the story and say, oh my goodness, that was interesting. So let me go ahead and share my screen on this. Okay, make sure you can see this. All right. N means not the Nig word on this situation, but means Naira, the Nigerian money, Naira. 480 billion Naira. Let me repeat this again. 480 billion Naira. millions of dollars in USD. Meth lab, court remands drug baron, Nigerian. You see the name? This name right here. He's the mastermind. 3 Mexicanos, 6 others in prison, means 6 Nigerians in prison. And you see these fascinating, hardworking personnel, right? Because men, like for certain type of Mexicanos, all the ones this applies to, they're only fleeing from Mexicano because they're doing the jobs that most Americans want to do. Liar. Do you understand? When we start naming warehouses or hotels or however other places, just give an example. They've been known to hire border illegal immigrants from various sections of Mexicanos and some other ones, but we give an example. Do you understand? Look at these fine Nigerian type guys, right? And some of these Mexicanos, right? Ain't that interesting? Look at those pictures. So, the National Law Drug Enforcement Agency, such and such acronym, on Friday arraigned 63-year-old drug baron. This particular mastermind Nigerian, you see the name, and it's just right itself. Innocent? Apparently not. And 3 Mexican nationals and 6 other Nigerians. And 6 other Nigerians before such and such justice, such and such federal high court, Lagos, on an 11-count criminal charge bordering on the setting up of a super clandestine laboratory and the production of 2,419.48 kilograms of methamphetamine worth over Naira 480 billion Naira in Oyo State. The 3 Mexicanos nationals arraigned alongside the Nigerians were identified as Juan Carlos Meza Toretto, 49. Namicio Martinez Felix, 46. Jesus Lopez Valles, 40. Now, the Nigerians, right? So people be so educated, so hard work, and so constructive, right? Yeah, okay. These particular Nigerian bad ones arraigned tribalism, arraigned aside the mastermind and the Choli, whatever his name on that, were identified as, not going to say that name, 41, not going to try to pronounce that name, 38, you get the point, this Nigerian, 43, this Nigerian, 23, this Nigerian, 45, this Nigerian, 59. In the 11-count charge, the agency alleged that the defendants conspired between February 16th, May 2026 to establish a clandestine laboratory for the preparation, process, and production of methamphetamine in violation of Section 14B of the Such and Such Act. Other counts include managing, organizing, financing a drug trafficking organization, contrary to such and such sections, unlawfully transporting precursor chemicals. You see some of the names from Lagos to the Moe something laboratory, using a Toyota Tacoma, a Mercedes-Benz marked such and such, and a Toyota Highlander marked such and such. Contrary to Section 201 F, and unlawful production and possession of, again, 2,419.48 kilograms haul of methamphetamine, contrary to such and such section of the Act, respectively. The acronym accused the defendants of possession of large quantities of precursor chemicals recovered at the laboratory, including, you see that, you can read that yourself. You see all those chemicals, wherever it is, such and such. You see the chemicals, all contrary to this particular section of that particular act. And a Chile, whatever, the Nigerian mastermind, who was described by this particular acronym as the owner of the fenced expanse of land on which the super loud was cited, was charged separately under Section 12 of the such and such Act for unlawfully allowing for his property to be used for production of this illicit drug. All 10 pleaded not guilty to the charges before such and such justice. Look at that. Nigerian, Mexicano, this is a mastermind, Nigerian. Look at that. Look at that. You see what it said? Innocent and some of the suspects. Not quite innocent, apparently. See it right here? That's the mastermind, right? The innocent. It's probably not the way you pronounce it. Look at that. But they're supposed to be so smart, right? Okay. How much tribalism they continue to keeps going on. The prosecution, they're out to call 7 witnesses. I'm not going to go into all that. Sunday, I'm not going to go into all that. Oh, something about these particulars here, as well as the 3 Mexicans, meth experts. And Acholi, the Nigerian mastermind, the alleged mastermind of the cartelness, was simultaneously arrested at his luxury residence located at such and such area of Lagos State on the same date. On the follow-up operations, Monday, May the 18th, 2026, that acronym, operatives stormed another property owned by the Baron, the Nigerian Baron, such and such, Lagos, where another key member of the syndicate, such and such person, Nigerian, was arrested. The such and such investigators at that relating to this acronym also stormed a residence of another syndicate member, such and such, Nigerian, whose property served as the cartel's strategic stash house, to arrest him on the same day. Speaking on the arraignment, such and such personnel said the case represents one of the most significant dismantling of an industrial scale narcotics production operation on Nigerian soil, underscoring the increasingly transnational character of drug trafficking networks now desperate to exploit Nigeria as a manufacturing base for onward export. But this is supposed to be what numbers of Black Americans are supposed to sit there and be jealous of regardless. Right? Oh my goodness. Well, they should be talking about Nigerians and Mexicanos, because it's not all like this. I mean, hold on for a second. I mean, keep talking about Nigerians and Mexicanos, because it's not all. Not playing that game, right? How much hatred is shown, anti-Black American hatred is shown by certain sectors of Nigerians, what it applies to? How much anti-Black Americanism hatred is shown by certain sections of Mexicanos, what it applies to? Do you understand? It's like this white Mexicano right here said, I know Negroes aren't getting their fair share of democracy, but frankly, I'm prejudiced against Negroes, and I do not believe that they are entitled to they are, excuse me, let's read this again. I know Negroes aren't getting their fair share of democracy, but frankly, I'm prejudiced. It means hate, in their words, against the Negroes. He didn't say Africans. He didn't say people of color. He said communities of color. He said Negroes. He's talking about Black Americans. And I do not believe that they are entitled to everything that we get, everything that they get, this foolish white man Kano. I don't recall what his name was. This is several decades ago. The nerve of these white man Kanos like this. Do you understand? But they want Black Americans to fight against ICE and all that nonsense. But then the bad versions of the other bad versions that beat down and do stuff like the George Floyds and the Tamir Rices and the Eric Gardens and the Anthony Jefferson, the Sandra Blands, and you get the point. You say, okay, where y'all at on that point? They disappear. Do you understand? Do you understand? And then you got these kind of hateful ones from that fled over from the ancient continent of what we call Africa, which 500 some years ago, even less, it wasn't called Africa as a one unity continent. That's a different topic. But smell this hateful one that fled. Let's see what she's going to say.
True Black Africans and African Americans do not claim Black Americans. We are not the same. African tends to focus on progress, family values, and community upliftment, rather than dwelling on historical grievances. They prioritize education and hard work. They don't live life blaming the white man for all their failures, challenges, or the choices that they make.
Look at that hateful tether that fled from Harvard, Nigeria, or whatever other place close around there, fled like a little coward, right? Get to sit there and taste of the fruits of what Black Americans have had there in black pain in America, and they just show up as latecomers. The nerve of these nasty little despicable little hateful ones, tethers, I find very offensive. It's an insult to Black Americans. The Black Americans, they have moms and dads and cousins and brothers and sisters that have lost their lives in America fighting to be treated accordingly. Even you got numbers of older Black Americans that saw formal segregation. And these foolish, nasty, despicable tethers just show up. Ain't gonna talk. I'm telling you, more Black Americans about to start calling these people out because they get ahead of themselves. But remember, right? She said, oh my goodness, Africans and the African Americans don't do this. The true African Americans, that's why African Americans before relating to the terminology was kind of accepted a little bit more. But now you got tellers like that can slot on some African American banner. That's why Black American delineation is essential. Now, again, you heard what she was talking about. Africans, do you understand? She makes sure not to go into detail about that. And what about these particular Africans? These versions. In Africa, it's a very generic terminology. Why don't she say numbers of Nigerians specifically? Because she get roasted and say, I know you ain't talking. The tribalism going on in various parts of Nigerians. The good numbers of Nigerians who tell you, oh, there's major tribalism going on. Major corruption going on. Major questionable voting scenarios. Major violence. She get roasted. Do you understand? But I guess this is supposed to be the brightest too. And she want to talk about Black Americans. You got to watch those kind. Those are very mentally dangerous type ones. They will sell Black Americans short so fast. Matter of fact, they will sell the other numbers of Africans short. Do you understand? The hypocrisy is very real. But this is very interesting on that scenario. Because again, knows the people had not heard of the story. And then add in several Nigerians and then add in several Mexicanos, that transnational, transcontinental version over to Nigeria. Oh, my. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP Show.